Ladies and gentlemen, you welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus continue increasing in the Republic of Cameroon. More than 50 cases have already been recorded, and there is confusion on a possible case of death said to have been recorded in the country's economic capital, Douala. We're going to give you more information on this in this newscast. Stay with us. Once more, thanks for joining us on this edition of the news. 56 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 have been recorded in the Republic of Cameroon. The number of confirmed cases continues increasing despite all the measures taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon to prevent the spread of the coronavirus across the country. And there is a confusion on a suspected case of death connected to the coronavirus in the country, but as of now, no official information indicates that there's been a confirmed case of death in the Republic of Cameroon. A certain Some Mukuri Achille is said to have died of coronavirus, according to some information circulating, but no government authority has confirmed this information, not even officials of the Lakentini Hospital, where Some Mukuri Achille died earlier today. But the doctor who was in charge of that patient, Dr. Jules Njebet of the Centre Cardiovasculaire, the Douala Heart Center, told us that the patient was suffering from cough for the past 10 days and fever for the past 1 week, and that is why he couldn't keep the patient in his health center. He had to transfer him to the Lakentini hospital for proper medical attention, because he was suspecting that he had contracted coronavirus, and he died at the Lakentini hospital. Some family members confirmed to us that he had come in contact with several persons coming from Europe, including one of his female friends who had escaped from quarantine, and of course his relatives affirmed this information, also indicating to us, that is Dr. Jules Njebet indicating to us, that he received the patient at 7 a.m. today and transferred him to the Lakentini hospital by 10 a.m. including and of course this is the information that we have as of now concerning this case. And the national media earlier reported that the Director General of the Lakentini Hospital, Professor Louis Richard Njok, had said that the disease was not, or had not been tested of COVID-19, but that he died of other health complications, including cardiac arrest and diabetes. But Professor Louis Richard Njok later released a press statement indicating that he said nothing on this. In other words, dismissing the information that had been circulating, indicating that he said the patient died of other health complications as fake. Now to the northwest region of the country, as the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 continue increasing, administrative and health officials are stepping up measures to prevent the spread of the virus in that part of the country. Details with our correspondent, Stella.
This morning, my name is Dr. Kingsley Chair, Regional Delegate of Public Health.
Public health officials in Bamenda stepping up the fight against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. This weekend, the regional delegation of public health was at Matazem, gateway into the northwest region from other parts of the country.
This morning, the northwest region has declared a war against the coronavirus pandemic. Today, we left our houses at 4 a.m. and came here at Matazem, the toll gate of Matazem, because we know that more than 1,000 people pass here every day to Bamenda, and is the main entry point. The objective of our exercise today, first of all, is sensitization.
Matazem, All passengers are obliged to alight from their respective vehicles and their temperatures recorded by some health personnel. The coronavirus pandemic might have scared many, but passengers moving into Bamenda are not frightened but applaud the checks.
It's good because if you start from here, you know that nobody can enter the region with the COVID-19.
I was okay. I was okay because I know I don't have it. I have faith in me that I don't have it, so I was okay.
Before this campaign, information earlier circulated on the social media suggesting 2 cases of the virus had been reported in Bamenda. The delegate says these are false informations aimed at causing panic.
Yesterday, we were surprised to see from social media say 2 cases a day, one for St. Agnes, one for regional hospital. So we quickly get out to the population hotel and say that information not be correct. We never yet get any case for Bamenda, for Northwest region as a whole.
Emanuela Michael is a health reporter in Bamenda. She says these measures are good but could be improved.
Right now, we have so many people who have traveled and they are all standing so close to each other, right from the buses and now through the process of screening. They are standing so close to each other, and that is a barrier to social distancing. We have people in marketplaces, in churches, and we have overcrowding places like we have prisons, we have IDPs and host communities where people are overcrowded, and it is a problem. But I must say that the government still needs to look into these problems and find solutions that can help us really prevent COVID-19 in Cameroon as a whole.
Persons entering or leaving the Northwest region are advised to observe strict personal hygiene in order to limit contamination and spread of the virus. So far, Cameroon has recorded 56 COVID-19 cases.
Bustela reporting there from the Northwest region of the country, and the senior divisional officer of the Uri division has also taken some measures at the level of his office to ensure that the COVID-19 will not pass through his office to spread to the rest of the town of Douala in the Uri division and the nation at large. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
As the number of confirmed corona cases is rapidly increasing in Cameroon, adopting measures such as hand hygiene, respiratory etiquette, social distancing, and the reduction of personnel in offices are currently being implemented. The senior divisional officer for Douala 1, Christophe Faufier, has equally joined in the fight of containing the virus in Cameroon.
Nous avons placé des dispositifs pour désinfecter.
At the entrance of the office, we have put in place hand sanitizers. We have equally reduced the number of persons that could be found in the waiting room. The waiting room before was hosting 20 persons, but now only 3 persons are allowed to be in the room. We no longer organize meetings which requires more than 6 persons in a room.
Nous ne tenons plus de réunions qui peuvent.
Christophe Faufier equally cautions owners of drinking spots who disrespect the closing time given by the government of Cameroon.
Nous sommes déjà à une centaine.
Close to 100 drinking spots have been sealed. I would want to call on owners of these drinking spots to respect the measures taken by the government. If not, they will be punished accordingly.
Pour faire un appel
Cameroonians are called upon to respect the 13 measures implemented by the government of Cameroon so as to better contain the spread of the virus in the territory.
Immaculate Fogwe reporting there rather on measures taken by the divisional officer of the Douala 1 subdivision to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. And in the report coming up next, Innocent has a report that many of the measures taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon and the sanitation rules from the World Health Organization are not being respected in the country's economic capital. His report.
Saturday, March 21st, Douala City Mayor and other local administrative authorities pledged to by this Monday implement measures like installation of hand-washing points in public avenues, sensitization banners, stop clustering of persons, overloading on motorbikes, and in taxis, to mention but these to limit spread of the coronavirus in the city. Descending to the field Monday, we discovered even the authorities were not serious. City dwellers say it was more of a scam.
I haven't come across any. This is Boulevard Amadou Aiju, one big boulevard, one big street in Douala, but I haven't seen any. Even you can testify there is none here. They are already failing because other countries already advanced in such measures. If they can't take measures that will help prevent us from it faster, then I suggest the lockdown is good. It's better to die in your house than to contaminate a lot of people before dying.
Bike riders who circulate all over the city say they have not seen any of these measures implemented in any public place.
Moi personnellement, je n'ai même pas encore vu un point d'eau. Quand on dit ce qui est vrai, on devient ennemi de l'État.
City dwellers are still found in overcrowded places, but to them it is inevitable.
Le gouvernement n'a pas mis les gens pour, je ne sais pas, réglementer les écarts dont il a parlé sur le terrain.
With absence of agents to enforce these measures, bike riders, for instance, strive to respect some of the measures, like no overloading to avoid contamination.
Bon, on ne les applique pas directement, mais on commence petit à petit à nous habituer vu l'aggravement.
While some of the city dwellers expect they should be provided nose masks due to poverty, others are waiting on no one, noting prevention at all costs is better than cure.
Je porte les gants là par rapport à le coronavirus.
He personally fabricated his nose mask with a 1.5 water bottle to avoid contamination.
Donc on m'a dit qu'il y a la maladie corona ou c'est corona.
To him, it is washable, convenient, and he does not spend a franc.
Le casier de 500 francs pour faire 3 heures de temps tous les jours. Avec ça, ça me permet de laver, reporter tous les jours.
He also rides with gloves to be on the safe side.
Avec les clients, ils sont satisfaits. Quand ils me voient comme ça, non, ils sont à l'aise.
Others claim to move with their hand sanitizers.
For me, I have my antibacterial down there in my bag that after every 15 minutes I use in wiping my hand and around my nose.
Hope is that the Douala City Mayor and his agents scrupulously adhere to their responsibility to sensitize the population, implement and reinforce the measures they drafted to protect all from the COVID-19.
In Ebolo and the south region of the country, some of the 13 measures taken by government against the COVID-19 are not being respected. Overloading is still the order of the day, especially as far as commercial motorbike transportation within the town of Ebolo is concerned. Smantik and Gebre reports.
And commercial motorbike riders in Ebolo, south region of Cameroon, have continued to overload despite restrictive measures taken by the governments of Cameroon as part of efforts to curb the spread of coronavirus. Their old habits of transporting more than one or the required number of passengers have refused to die, and the transporters say respecting government's measures will send them out of business. We can't do without overloading. Imagine transporting few persons from Lolodov to Ebolova when you have to ride through a very bad road and settle controls. While in Ebolova, you are expected to see a mechanic and service your bike. With what then can we feed our families? We can't transport just one person on the bike at a time. If we must reduce the number of passengers, let fuel prices too be reduced. Above overloading, the transporters have continued to ignore calls to avoid handshakes and close body contacts. We are not afraid of the disease. We know that it will soon be history. We are brothers. We can't stay without handshakes. The government of Cameroon on March the 17th, 2020 outlined some 13 measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. But on the field in Ebolova, chief town of the south region of Cameroon, the rules are being grossly violated by the local population, even in the presence of elements of the forces of law and order. Though the south region of Cameroon is yet to register its first case of COVID-19, the number of confirmed cases have continued to rise in other parts of Cameroon.
Innocent, or rather for me, I'm Sanda reporting there. And the Minister of Social Affairs of the Republic of Cameroon, Pauline Irene Guinea, has condemned the attitude of some parents who are sending their children to streets to hawk various items, in contradiction to the measure taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon to shut down schools so that children can remain back at home. And the minister has urged all parents to keep their children in their homes and not to send them to the streets, because they are more exposed being in the streets across the country. And medical experts, Dr. Roger Etoile has said that if total confinement is not implemented immediately, there are going to be more than 100 cases of the COVID-19 in the weeks ahead in Cameroon. But Professor Sobngui Eugene, and a consultant endocrinologist at the Yaoundé Central Hospital and lecturer at the University of Yaoundé 1, is raising some concerns as far as the implementation of total confinement is concerned, and he is indicating that it may have some negative effects if it is implemented. He is suggesting that total confinement can only be implemented in targeted areas, including Douala, Yaoundé and Bafoussam, where some cases have already been detected. He was speaking to me in the Inside yesterday. Take a listen.
Total confinement is, in public health terms, in epidemic situations, is a good measure, provided it is implemented the right way. And I need to raise few concerns in order to reach my point concerning total confinement. First of all, why would you impose total confinement to a person in Garoua while the virus is not there? So you might hamper economic development in that area for almost no clear reason. So we need to know where is the threat, where the threat is, so as to contain the threat. For now, the risk for Cameroon is 1, importation of cases. And for that, we need to close the borders. 2, in Cameroon, the risk is the spread of viruses from existing cases, and those cases for now have been identified in Douala, in Yaoundé, and in Bafoussam. Therefore, in terms of confinement, my personal view would be a sort of confinement of the sources, potential sources of the spread of the virus. Therefore, Yaoundé, Douala, and Bafoussam, those are the targets of a total confinement measure. And in terms of total confinement, we need also to think about the lifestyle. Total confinement, it worked in China, in Wuhan, and they also did for the whole country for 10 days. It is currently being implemented in the most affected countries, and no evaluation is available yet. But we should bear in mind that the average size of a family in those countries is much lower than the average size of a family here. Therefore, we need to thoroughly think about it. If I confine in a single place 6 children with their grandma, and the children, they have the virus, and I know that the grandma is more vulnerable.
And reacting to the issue of total confinement, the political scientist Professor Elvis Ngole said if this has to be implemented, the socio-cultural characteristics of the Cameroonian society must be taken into consideration, while Senator Kemen, the member of the upper house of parliament, says that the people of the northwest and the southwest regions have been on a forceful lockdown since the start of the crisis going on there in late 2016. Why not now, when it concerns a very crucial issue like health, or better still, life? Listen to them.
Using a policy method that is called total confinement, generally speaking, the way state institutions function, it is that political systems that are closed can use certain methods easily, much easily, such as total confinement, while political systems that are open, such as ours and most of the Western world, it becomes very difficult to do total confinement.
When you talk about total confinement, I ask myself the question, I will just immediately ask the question, if we cannot succeed to confine the President of the National Assembly alone, we cannot confine him alone, are we going to confine the rest of Cameroonians in their houses? We may order total confinement, and along the line, some other people, for some other reasons, may define exceptions to it that are not provided by that decree or that order, confining people completely. If Northwest and Southwest could have suffered lockdown for a week, and whether decreed by who, yeah, but the fact is that the lockdowns operated at certain places. What more of people doing it as a health measure to protect themselves and to be able to live, to enjoy the right of life, as guaranteed by Constitution. It has happened, Prof. Yeah. Just give me a minute while I'm intervening. Yeah. It has happened in Congo. It has been shut down without any single case having been discovered there. One more of us, we have had cases that are from 7 to 27 and one.
And the member of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament, Senator Kemende, also raised concerns concerning health centers and hospitals in parts of Anglophone Cameroon that have been taken over by the military. They have become military camps, and he's calling on the Yaoundé administration to do something about this, so that in any case of coronavirus, it would be properly handled in Anglophone Cameroon. Take a listen to Senator Kemende. Senator Kemende speaking on the health centers and hospitals in the northwest and southwest regions of the country that have been taken over by the military, and he's raising concerns, indicating that if there were to be a case of coronavirus in some of those localities, it would be disastrous because of the absence of the health amenities in those parts of Anglophone Cameroon. Take a listen.
Situations of the circumstances that our populations, various populations in the northwest and the southwest regions are going through. Like the situation of Balikumbat, where the hospital has been taken over by the military, it's become a military barrack. There is no hospital in Balikumbat. So imagine the situation whereby some victims, some patients happen to be found in Balikumbat. I don't know which medical center will accommodate them, where they can be quarantined. So my plea to the government is that if it warrants that an interministerial committee sits down and decide on how to relocate the military in Balikumbat, that will help the population of a whole subdivision that has only that medical establishment to depend on, where patients could be quarantined and treated or given first aid treatment for transferring them elsewhere. That obtains too with other areas too, where the headquarters, where the hospitals have been affected by the ongoing crisis. Let something be done fast. Let something be done urgently, in order that because one person affected in those areas means the whole country is still at risk, because we still move across. So let the government do something about those hospital, yes, those hospital environments in the northwest, those hospital establishments in the northwest and southwest that have been affected by the ongoing crisis. Let there be another makeshift hospital, or let there be a relocation where situations like in Balikumbat has arisen, where the military is inhabiting a military hospital establishment. That is probably should be solved fast, so that at least there should be normalcy should return. But even in the heart of the crisis, the military themselves, they even need medical care. If one is affected now, they need to be quarantined somewhere and given first aid treatment before being referred elsewhere. I think those hospitals are a necessity. It is now that the #1 person of the country comes.
Coming up next, Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Point. We are receiving medical experts to my left, Dr. Nguti Anita. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're a medical doctor and a focal point for prevention of infection at the Mbopi Baptist Hospital. Is that?
Yeah.
All right, you're welcome. And to my right, we have one of the leading female politicians in the Republic of Cameroon, Kabanwala Edith, National President of the CPP, Cameroon People's Party, and member of Stand Up for Cameroon Civil Society Platform. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. You have succeeded in taking me out of my confinement. I have been in confinement since Friday last week, but you insisted, and here I am.
Thank you for taking this initiative to be with us in order to communicate on this issue, which is very, very important. You're also one of the mothers of the nation.
Absolutely, and I send greetings to all Cameroonians from the mothers of the nation, most of whom, to the best of my knowledge, are also already under confinement.
All right. Doctor, this issue of confinement, total confinement, partial confinement, can we apply any of these in Cameroon now? What's going to be the impact? Is it going to help the situation?
Well, first, it's going to help the situation because given what has happened in other countries, I think that we should learn from it and we should take it very seriously now. Because if I think subsequently we'll be talking about how maybe this infection is spread, if we understand how this infection is spread. Unfortunately, this infection can be spread from people who are not symptomatic. So if at the point where we have already had cases, we don't know the contacts of those cases, we don't know much about what is happening, so it is better we stay home. Then if you develop symptoms, then we can be able to manage it. But if we are all outside there and everybody falls sick, with our health system in Cameroon, we will not be able to contain everybody.
So in a nutshell, everybody should stay home. Is that, are you saying that total confinement, a total lockdown of the country will be advisable at this point in time?
I think it will be advisable.
All right. Kabanwala Edith, Dr. Eugene Sopgui, consultant at the Yaoundé Central Hospital and lecturer at the University of Yaoundé 1, is raising some concerns about this total lockdown, and he seemed to be indicating that it may not be very appropriate to lock down the whole nation, even though others have done so already.
I think, as the doctor has said, we are managing this crisis badly. The way that we always manage our crisis badly, and we're managing this particular crisis, which is directly life-threatening for hundreds of thousands of people. If you look at the model, the way this virus has spread in other countries, the tendency in Cameroon is going to, we have hundreds of thousands of people at risk. So one, the Minister of Health, I believe, is not communicating the way he should. Because by communicating 56 cases, we give the impression to Cameroonians that there are only 56 people in the country who are sick. Note this, the virus is asymptomatic in many cases. So I may be infected and I'm looking and feeling healthy. Two is that it has symptoms which resemble other diseases. So you have a common cold, you have you are somebody who's got a little bit of a headache and so on. You may confuse and feel that that is what you have. And finally, it is to realize that we only know the number of cases from the number of tests we have done, and we have tested very, very few people. We have only tested from since about a week ago. We only started testing, I think 2 weeks ago, sorry. We only started testing about 2 weeks ago, and the virus has been circulating for some time. So, one is
there are worries about the fact that until now, the minister is still calling on all those who came in contact with the first two cases to identify themselves, which is an indication that all those who might have come in contact with the 56 cases are not yet known.
They are not. They are not. That is exactly what his communication means. But it is more. We keep focusing on those two flights. It is a lot worse than that. Let me give you an example. Government has behaved so badly. One, with the President of the National Assembly getting off a flight where there were infected people. We now know today there were infected people on his flight, and he went to the National Assembly. Have all of the people he came in contact with been tested? Has he been tested? The Minister of Health is dancing around when they ask that question. It's not a matter of targeting an individual, but it's a matter of knowing whether he has tested positive.
He has tested negative. According to the information at our disposal, he has tested negative.
I think those particular tests, because he's a public official, and they should be shown to us. We should know, because people on his flight were positive. Now, the other thing that the government has done very badly was to not postpone the elections of yesterday. Because when Professor Songwi says we should confine Douala, Bafoussam, in the context of the elections, Cameroonian officials, high-level officials, left the epicenter of the infection. At least we know geographically, from what we know today, that where there is the highest rate of infection is Yaoundé. They left Yaoundé, hundreds of people, and carried themselves to the northwest and southwest region. This, in my opinion, this is criminal. In the current state of the country, this is criminal. So because you have undoubtedly taken that virus from the epicenter of infection to two regions which, as we are discussing from Mr. Kemende's comments, have very little access to health care. So the government is behaving extremely irresponsibly. And I just want to say to Cameroonians, though, that this is not a time for wasting your time to criticize government, to say they have not done this. Take care of your health. Don't waste your time with, oh, they should have done this, Kabaye should do that. Take care of your health, please. We know the basic elements.
We'll come to that in a short while. Okay. With regards to the degree of the problem, the magnitude of this problem, should the nation be completely shut down?
We should be at least moving towards total confinement. That means that at this stage, all non-essential activity should be shut down. I told you I came out of confinement. As you know, I am a CEO. I manage a company. Last week, we started sensitization on Monday, and by Thursday, we were shut down. This does not mean that we are not working. All of my staff, I left a staff meeting to come to the program today. We have organized ourselves to be able to work remotely. We have provided our staff with the equipment that they need, with access to the internet that they need, with access to telephone communication that they need, so that we can continue working. Government at this stage should be shutting down all of its ministries, all of its activity that is non-essential, especially as that activity is concentrated in Yaoundé, the epicenter, what we know to be the epicenter of the infection. So government should start with shutting this down. I think later we have some practical tips for people who are seeing this confinement as very difficult, because if you are a bike rider and you go out every day to get your 2,000 francs to feed your family, confinement looks very difficult for you.
It looks actually very difficult.
So we'll talk about, but we have some tips. We have some tips.
We'll know about those tips in a short while. Doctor, the Minister of Trade said markets should close at 4 p.m. And the Prime Minister, in the 13 measures, said beer parlors, entertainment places, restaurants, all nightclubs and so on should shut down by 6 p.m. Isn't that a measure that is already close to total confinement? Is it going to be easy for the people? Because even now, with these measures that I just mentioned, they are not being respected. It's quite difficult for the people to respect and so on. With the total confinement, will it be applicable?
Well, I'm not really too political, but the truth is that what I want to say to Cameroonians first is that we should, first of all, she was saying that we should concentrate, we should realize that this is about our health. Because the truth is, if they say that do not stay in beer parlors after 6 p.m., there are some places that actually respect that. I've been to 2 supermarkets at 6 p.m. they close, but there are some places that they don't respect that at all. And there are some bars you pass, you see people, they are not even respecting the basic 1 meter to stay distancing and all that. So I think that the problem even boils down to us Cameroonians, how we are viewing this. We are not seeing this as serious.
Maybe it's because many have not understood what the coronavirus is all about and how it spreads. Because we listened to somebody in this newscast who did not even know the name of coronavirus. He said Karina something, a bike rider who was putting on a kind of funny mask and so on. Maybe it's because the people do not really understand. Tell us more about how this virus spreads from one person to the other.
Okay, actually yes, the virus spreads from one person to the other. But now the thing is, how can the virus live from one person to the other? Transmission is basically from coughing and sneezing. Asymptomatic carriers, they can transmit the virus, but that's not the main way that the virus is transmitted. But now this virus can be transmitted from droplets that you produce when you cough and when you sneeze. And when you cough or sneeze, this virus has been shown that it can travel a total of about 1 meter. So if somebody is standing 1 meter from you and sneezes or coughs, the droplets can drop on your mouth or on your nostrils and you get the virus, or you can even inhale it. Now, another thing is people can sneeze on top of surfaces, and you pass and you touch those surfaces and the virus goes to your hand. Or somebody sneezes into their hands and you greet the person and you get the virus on your hands and you can get infected. So if you see where the virus can, if you identify where you can get infected from what I've explained, you can now understand how to prevent yourself from being infected. Like, it can travel 1 meter, so stay 1 meter away from somebody that is coughing or sneezing. Now, most of the times our hands, they touch things a lot. You cannot really help it much. When you are passing, you can touch things and all those things. Avoid touching your mouth, your nostrils, or your eyes with your hands without cleaning them. But now, if you greet somebody, and you have to clean your hands before even touching your face or anything, but it's basically advisable not to touch your face or your hands or your eyes.
Though it's still a very difficult thing. And on the social distancing in Africa, we are used to coming close to each other, hugging and all of that stuff. And in the case concerning the suspected death recorded in Douala today, which is been connected to coronavirus, though it has not yet been confirmed. Family sources indicates that the person who died today at the La Quintini Hospital was in contact with people who came in from Europe, and particularly with one of his female friends who escaped from quarantine. And so they had to meet for one reason or the other. Social distancing, there should be emphasis on this.
Yeah. I think that social distancing is very important. Even in the hospital, we are trying to institute that in some way, but it is very difficult to but personally, take it as a personal, stay 1 meter from people. Don't just barge in. And if you have cough and if you're sneezing, it's better you stay away from people. And now, in the case where maybe you have somebody that has these suspected symptoms and is staying at home, or if you are the one that has these suspected symptoms, then it is advisable for you to even wear a mask for those people.
The type of mask is another thing. We saw a mask in this newscast, a bottle that has been cut into two and then transformed into a kind of mask. Is that kind of mask advisable? Is it acceptable?
No. The thing is, the masks are produced for different purposes. The mask that you will use to protect yourself from dust particles, the mask that you use as a bike rider is different from the mask that is used to prevent yourself from being infected. Usually the ones that are accepted, you have the surgical mask. And the mask that they use usually in the theaters, I actually brought one. So this is the mask that is somehow acceptable.
It's recommended.
Yes. Then we also have the N95 mask. That one is the one that is sealed, and it's the one that most health professionals that are taking care of patients with COVID-19 they have to put on. But it's not everybody that should put on a mask.
All right, Dr. Sabgui said that before using a mask, consult a medical personnel to advise you on the kind of mask to put on and how to use it and so on. Kabanwala Edith, you are in confinement and you just came out of your confinement to come to this newscast, and you're telling all Cameroonians to stay at home.
Yes.
Is it going to be easy for all Cameroonians to stay at home?
It's not easy for me. It's very difficult. Those who know me know that I work a lot. I really like my office. So when I shut down my office, you know that it's very, very serious. So it's not going to be easy for any of us. But we have the model. We know what will happen. The virus is already here. So it has a certain rate of spreading, which we know because all of the other countries which have much better health systems than we do, who were better prepared for this than we are, it has spread in that way. So this virus is going to spread, and the only way to break the spread is isolation, is confinement. So for those who have difficulty, we said we have some practical elements for those who go out every day to look for their daily bread. The suggestion is that because you multiply the contacts, you multiply the chances of getting the virus. So if you cannot confine totally, please try to organize yourself to reduce your going out. So if you cannot confine totally, if you are used to going to market every day, try to go to market and have stock for 3 days and avoid going to the market. If you are somebody who is a bike rider, you are used to going out, you have to work for your money every day, try to see whether you can work and be off work for a day or two. If you cannot reduce completely, and I want to encourage Cameroonians. I've heard a lot of people saying Cameroonians are not serious. I think it's true, we are not serious enough. But coming here today, the traffic is a lot less than on a normal Monday evening in Douala.
Not as dense as usual.
Exactly. So it shows that we are getting somewhere, and I just want to encourage people to please take it further. Do not look at it like, oh, I just cannot confine, so there's nothing I can do. No. Even if you have to make your daily living, see how to organize yourself. We have been able to do it before. Market women take trips and go to the village. They organize themselves. Bike riders, they take a few days off to go and do X, Y, or Z. So we are able to do it. And we should know as a country that the faster we shut down and slow the rate of spread of the virus, the sooner that we will all be able to go back to work normally. If we waste a lot of time in shutting down totally, it's going to be a very long process. We'll be suffering the effects for a very, very long time.
You're one of the mothers of the nation, and the Minister of Social Affairs is condemning the attitude of some parents who are sending their children to the streets to sell since they are not going to school. What do you have to say to those parents?
We say to the parents, please, the children have not been sent home from school because it's a holiday. They have been sent home from school because there is sickness outside. And what do you want to do? Keep your children safe. I know that it's very difficult, because the difficulty is for parents is how do they occupy the children? How do they keep those children busy at home? Please, the children have school books. They are there. It's not a vacation. Please try to help them to organize to have 3-4 hours of study per day, so that they are not losing this time. So please try to organize at home. Keep the children at home. They are not even supposed to go to the neighbors to play. They are not. They are supposed to be inside your house.
All right, Dr. Anita, I just wanted to emphasize a little bit on some of the preventive measures apart from this social distancing, washing of hands, and then using the mask, and then coughing in the elbow, or using a tissue to cover your nostrils before coughing and so on.
Okay, I think that basically those are all the preventive measures that we have to take. There are not many. It's just basically for you to understand that the virus can get on your hands. So wash your hands frequently. The virus, you can take it from your hands and put it in your eyes and your nostrils or your mouth and get infected. So avoid touching your face with your hands. And the virus can be on surfaces. Avoid touching surfaces. You can also practicing respiratory etiquette, like hygiene practices. It's very important because it prevents you from infecting others. And this is very important. I just want to emphasize on this quickly because youths might not suffer very much from this infection. Not that they cannot get infected, but severe infections are more in our parents. So we will not really, it will reach a point that our parents all will fall sick and we might end up losing all of our parents. So practicing all of this is not only to protect yourself, it's to protect your family. So, and usually if you have a parent that is having diabetes, hypertension, and is elderly, all of those are risk factors of having severe illness. So those people are supposed to practice hand hygiene practices, the preventive practices that you have mentioned. They are supposed to be more intense with it.
All right, Dr. Nguti Anita, medical doctor, focal point for infection prevention at Mbopi Baptist Hospital. Kabangwala Edith, political and civil society leader, national president of the People's Action, or the Popular
Cameroon People's Party.
People's Party.
People's Action Party is our comrade in Stand Up for Cameroon.
All right. Thank you all, ladies, for coming. Today was all female,
as it should be.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today.